Hey everybody, welcome to Boss Rush. It's Friday afternoon. Well, actually it's Friday morning. It's 11:30 in the morning here. I'm used to starting it an hour later, but yeah, this is going to be our 2-hour live stream for Gamescom. And going to be discussing all the big news that came out of the conference over the past week. And we're going to talk about all kinds of game industry and video game nerdery with my co-host, Mark DeLoura, who will be joining in a few minutes. He is getting himself camera ready for the program today. He is popping in right now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab his link, and we're going to go ahead and populate it here into our scene. So if you give me one moment, I'll go ahead and bring Mark in just a hot minute. Yeah, let's see if we can get Mark in there. And I believe we have all of the kinks and junk worked out of our setup here. I know Mark can probably hear me. But yeah, let's go ahead and bring Mark in as well. Ooh, look who it is. It is Mark DeLoura.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yay. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Chris Melissinos. I'm the principal evangelist for video games here at AWS. And Susan Cummings will not be joining us today. She is still away, taking a much-needed break. So we're going to be excited to have her back. And, of course, Dean Takahashi is out in Cologne, Germany at Gamescom. And so with me today for the next 2 hours is my good buddy.
Hey, I'm Mark DeLoura.
Hey, yes, you are Mark DeLoura. Tell us, Mark, who you are. Like, why should people know you? I know why people should know you, but
Why should people know? So, hey, I've worked in the video game industry for 30 years. I worked at Sony and Nintendo, worked for President Obama for a couple of years back in the day, did a series of books called Game Programming Gems a long time ago, and I'm friends with Chris Melissinos.
hey, look, there we go. And I think we have all the audio working. I can hear you. You can hear me. We're one happy nerd family. And so, yeah. Yeah, so I'm super excited to see you, buddy. Yeah, and as people come and join, make sure you just go ahead and repost the program to your feeds. That will help us out. Have any questions for us, please go ahead and pop them in there. Mark and I are going to have this little division of labor where he and I will be monitoring the different chats since we are simultaneously live streaming to both YouTube and LinkedIn. So, yeah, we're going to make sure that we get all that covered.
It's early here on the West Coast, so I'm a little ragged. Still waking up.
All right. And here's what I'd ask you to do, Mark. Go ahead and double check your external feed. Let's make sure we do have all of our audio working.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, let's go ahead and double check that. What I found in doing a lot of this work is audio is the absolute worst thing to go ahead and account for.
The worst.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It's a nice echo.
yeah, that's because I got my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's working. It's working just great. It's working just great. So I'm going to go ahead and mute that. And yeah, and so, yeah, it is early. So I appreciate you getting camera ready. Although you wake up camera ready, right? That's the way you do it because you're a professional.
Camera ready.
Always assuming there's a camera for some reason. Karen Clark says, chat is so much better. And
Morning, Karen.
good morning. So, yes, good morning, Karen. And yeah, thanks for joining us so early. So early. So yeah, it seems we got everything finally worked out. So thanks everybody for being so patient as we do this. I don't know. I mean, since Mark, we've got 2 hours to talk, about all this stuff. I'd say that what people may not know is when we're doing these shows, like I'm doing all of the audio and the mixing and getting all the scenes set up and getting studio ready and everything else. So we don't have like a team doing this, right? We're doing this because we love to do it. And, you know, sometimes stuff just goes sideways. You just have to kind of deal with it. And one of the things that I'm really enjoying right now that's helping me so much is desktop real estate. Computer desktop real estate.
Oh! I thought you were saying your desk was too small.
Well, no, the desk is okay, but I needed a third monitor, and so that way I have something that I can monitor. You know, so you know the way we have it set up. You've got like your OBS, and you have your LinkedIn window. We have our browser window. We have our YouTube window. We have a digital mixer, and now we have a control room monitor. But here's what happened. So, as is typical, I think, with tech nerds like myself, we have sometimes you go into your storage room and stuff and go, do I have an extra monitor in here? Oh crap, I have like 4 of them sitting here, and one of them didn't have a mounting bracket on it. So I was like, oh well, we have to have them here in the office. Well, no, that type of mounting bracket, it just isn't standard, right, in our offices here. So I'm like, oh crap. All right, well, let me go ahead and just, check out, ordering a monitor arm. Monitor arm's ridiculously expensive for what I needed. And I was like, there's a Goodwill store right around the corner from the office. Let me go over there and check it out. So instead of getting a monitor arm, I got this nice, 24-inch Samsung television with a stand and everything for $20.
Oh my God. And it's a CRT and it weighs 150 pounds.
No. It's actually really nice and it works perfectly for what I need. So one of the leadership principles here at Amazon is frugality.
And where's your door?
Where's my door? What do you mean?
Right.
To get out? Oh, it's on the other side. No,
the desk's supposed to be made out of a door.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, you can hear that right here. Yeah, so it is the dimension
right.
of that. Yeah, maybe you want to go ahead and tell people what that is. Do you know what that story is? Why it's a door? You do.
I don't. I'm going to guess that it's because Amazon was started in a garage and he had a door, and that's just what he started working on. That'd be my guess.
Very close. So when Amazon did start, again, being frugal, being one of the guiding principles for the company, they said, okay, we finally have a little bit of money. We cobbled all this together from families and friends and stuff like that to start the company. But we need desks, and desks are really expensive. But right across the street from where their office was a Home Depot type store. So they went in and just bought, like a $40 solid core door, bought some 4x4s and made desks out of them. And those desks were in use for years. Like you can still see them. And so one of the things that they would do, they were sawhorses. Exactly right, Karen. And so what they did was when you came to Amazon, specifically if you're working like in one of the big corporate ones, you built your desk. And it is these rock solid, massive, heavy desks that just last forever. So I do love that. Anyway, so we are now
highly judged on your capabilities of whether or not you're a good carpenter. Fired. You know how to use a light bulb?
Can you take, well, all right. So, when we're talking about people working with software that normally work with software, now working with hardware, years ago when I was at Sun Microsystems, it was over a Christmas break, and I'd gotten done with like every, honeydew thing. Oh, Karen said, "Oh, you're an engineer?" Yes, exactly. So I'd gotten done with all of the household chores that needed to be done. So I'm like, okay, great. I got 2 solid days of nothing to do, so I'm going to go play. And the last thing I was working on, I was drilling into this metal pole to hang a weather station for my father-in-law, and the drill bit slipped off the pole and drove it right through the top of my thumb.
And that's why you're
until it came out the other side. And I lifted up the drill and I was like, oh, and I hit the reverse button and just backed it straight out. Now, the good thing is that it didn't hit the bone, it just hit meat, right? But that is your control thumb. So there was no game playing to be had because I literally drilled through my damn left thumb. The following week, I did a blog post and I explained what happened. And the CEO of the company at the time, Jonathan Schwartz, was like, "This is why software people should never work with hardware. Just, hope you're good. Hope you're good." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're good. We're good."
As I'm sitting here looking at an announcement about Microsoft unveiling new accessibility hardware.
Good one. Very good. Very good.
Nice segue.
Yes, a great segue into Gamescom. So there was so much information coming out of the conference this week. Just a ton of stuff. I don't know about you, man, but I definitely had some FOMO this week.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, once again, I'm like, why did I not go to that? I know it's Germany, but it's only a 10-hour flight. It doesn't take that long to get there. Could have gone, but alas, alack, here we are in gray Seattle instead, missing out on Kolsch and pork knuckles.
Oh, see, now you mentioned Kolsch. Like that would have been great. Damn it, DeLoura.
In the U.S. I've learned that Kolsch in Germany is different from Kolsch in the U.S. And it's delicious.
I love the fact that you just keep bringing it until finally, you take your coaster and turn it upside down. You're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah, I want to say that I only drink a couple of those because they're so tiny. They're like these €1 cups. Even I can drink more than one of those. I'm not much of a drinker.
Yeah, nor am I, unless it's wine or gin. But yeah, it always reminds me of that scene from, what was it, Old School? It's so good when it hits your lips. It's so cold. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man. All right. So, why don't we go ahead and jump in? We've got 2 hours. Well, now we have an hour and 45 since we jawed on a little bit, but that's...
Yeah. Well, what did you see? So I'm a little bit behind on my Gamescom news. So what did you see that you loved?
I am a little bit behind as well. So why aren't you picking it up? So we're going to explore together. But the first thing I did that I loved that a lot of people were kind of reporting on was the esports tournament that kicked off the event, right? And it was just awesome to see a packed stadium once again of people enjoying, esports. And I was having a conversation with some colleagues here about sport, right? And I'd asked this question in a meeting. I'm like, well, what about esports? Like, of course it's sport, because it's not just the activity, it's the human drama, it's the fandom, it's kind of the tribalism, right? It's all of those things that make sport. And it's wonderful to see that esports continues to gain in popularity. And the very first Olympic, as we mentioned in previous episodes, the very first Olympic-sponsored esports event is going on this year, right? I believe, in the Kingdom, right? So,
sure.
And with that, thanks everybody for joining. We're going to cut it. We're going to give you back an hour and 45 minutes of your day.
Yeah, I had an argument. Well, I had a discussion last week with somebody about whether or not esports are something that should be at the Olympics or not. And that person did not agree. That person thought that Olympic sports should be physical sports, and that the controller input was not physical enough. And that's an opinion.
Oh, it is an opinion, and they're entitled to. Yeah. Asses and elbows. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, right? But I mean, I can see where the confusion comes, especially if people haven't engaged in there. There was a study done. I'd love to go ahead and find this. Yeah. What about shooting? That's a sport. Bowling. Is that also an Olympic sport? Is bowling an Olympic sport?
It should be.
Right. Yeah, but then you say if you can play a sport while holding a beer, like, that's a
good sport?
Right, that is a very good sport. But when you think about the mental stress, the physical stress that goes on for professional esports players, there was a study done examining kind of the mental stress of a quarterback during the Super Bowl, and they found all the same markers for high-level esports players are the same, right? So when you say it's not physical, no, it takes a physical toll on people. People rotate out because of injuries. Here's the great argument. I think it was like 2 years ago. No, maybe it was right before COVID hit. There was a report of a Major League Baseball player who was sidelined for 3 games because he injured his thumb on his pitching hand playing Fortnite. Okay, so, you may not believe that, you don't have to be fully sweaty and physically exhausted to do it. A video game took a major league pitcher out of rotation from an injury. So don't tell me it's not physical, right? Yeah. It's a different kind of physicality. So,
yeah, it just depends on what it is you're trying to celebrate, I think, as to whether
I agree.
It makes sense to a person as an Olympic sport or not.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would watch twice as much Olympics if the esports were there. So, if you want to make a case to your advertisers Olympics committee, that would be one.
Yeah.
Make it more interesting to the game audience. I was going to say to the youngins, but I'm not a youngin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be amazing. Let's do it. We are doing it. So,
yep.
Cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really good one. Another big one that I thought was really awesome
was 7.
What's that?
Civilization 7?
No, you go ahead and take that one.
Oh, come on. Civilization 7.
ADHD, buddy. Too many things to pay attention to.
That's one of the things that popped for me. I was like, a new civilization's coming. I'm terrible at Civilization, but seeing, Sid Meier be like, 7 or however he did it, or I don't know. He did it differently than I would. Just got me excited because it is the original world simulator. It gets more and more complex every year. Has a nice ancillary history learning effect on people. And it's one of the few really strategic games we have left that continue to survive version after version after version, because that kind of game has a little bit gone out of vogue.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yes. Yeah, but like I said, those games it's one of those things, and I do agree. It's awesome when you have a game that can lean into actually teaching through play, right? I was on a panel years and years ago up at Johns Hopkins with some educators and stuff, and we were actually talking about this, and somebody was lamenting Pokemon, right? The card game. And they were just like, kids are so distracted by this, and it's all they want to do, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, you're just angry because they hit a set of mechanics that really speak to people. And the game, as you know, Mark, I mean, certainly more than I do, that the origins of Pokemon were from kids getting bugs and putting them in a little box and kind of fighting like the original thought around all that stuff, or at least that's the lore behind it. You could have made that game with dinosaurs. You could have made it with historical figures. Like, you could use the same thing. So don't get mad because you're not leaning in to do it. Stop expecting them to play in your playground. Start playing in theirs. And it's the same thing with Civ. There was this professor that stood up and said his final is a Civ module that they created that you use as the final exam in his class. I'm like, that's awesome. Nice. It is really, really awesome.
That's always great to see. I love it. I love to see educators use commercial off-the-shelf games, COTS games for short, for things we don't expect, and something like that where somebody's like, we're going to use a mod of Civ 7 to teach is fantastic.
Yeah.
So what was the thing you were thinking of? So I got excited about Civ. That was super top of my list. There's other things at the top of my list, but what was it that you were thinking of?
HTC's Viveverse announces no-code virtual world builder. Yeah.
I saw that too. I haven't dived into it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Is there other details? What do you got?
I haven't actually dug into the article or this story as much, but we can go ahead and why don't we do that then? Why don't we go ahead and just, where are we here? Why don't we go ahead and bring up that browser and that way you're not on the scene there. So that's because I didn't populate you in there. It's because I don't want you here, Mark. So let me go ahead and put Mark's. Wait, where the heck are you, buddy? Oh, boop! There you are. I got you now. All right. Yeah, so here it is on GamesBeat. HTC's Viveverse announces no-code virtual world builder. HTC maker of HTC Vive virtual reality headset said its Viveverse platform has created a no-code virtual world builder. The platform's suite of tools gives creators the ability to build and share interactive multiplayer worlds to any device, anywhere. Okay, so obviously streaming, right, off the server side. Users can share worlds on device, VR headset, mobile, PC, or Mac. Thanks to Viveverse creates cross-platform no-install feature, allowing anyone to join interactive entertainment without needing a video game machine. So yet another application for pixel streaming, right, of these environments.
Wait, whoa, hang on. What? Pixel streaming in VR?
Yes. Yep. It is a cross-platform no-install feature, right, which means that the only way that you can do that without having to install anything is to stream it through a browser or through a dedicated app.
I'm either missing something, which is entirely possible, or this is a weird announcement, because there's no way to pixel stream VR successfully because of the latency through the loop. So, what is this actually?
Yes, we can do it in a controlled environment, right? And you know me, man. I worked in Sun Labs for like 5.5 years. You can do all kinds of stuff in the lab.
Yeah, sure. You, of course. right. Yeah, of course.
Right. But here you go. With Viveverse Create, we're giving creators tools to create any world and share it with their friends, parents, and even their grandparents to experience. Of course, now, when they say grandparents, it's like we have friends of ours that are grandparents, right? So we have to change the way we think about what grandparents are. Sorry. Oren, she's on vacation. Just me and Mark. And see, blah, 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 to experience with one simple, secure, joinable link. Whether it's virtual hangs, live events, or multiplayer matchups, everyone can hang in Viveverse Create, proving that the metaverse isn't dead, just waiting for the rest of us to catch up. Oh, that's a pretty good piece of copy right there, I would say. Yeah, I am, of course. I love what grabbed me about this was no code building, right?
Yeah.
Giving more power of creation to people.
Yeah, and then I wonder what that means when somebody says no code. That means one of a handful of different things. Either you don't have a lot of control, or you've got blocks, or you're trying to describe actions, in words. Or so I'm curious to see more. Is there more?
Let's see. Viveverse Create launched on the heels of HTC's recently announced Polygon streaming, which empowers organizations to bring high fidelity interactive 3D models into their workflows across a range of devices, including smartphones, tablets, laptops, PCs, or XR headsets. Whether used for an individual object or managing dozens of assets within the same world, Polygon streaming combines server-side processing with client-side rendering, significantly reducing bandwidth and processing power requirements in the process. This is getting right into the sweet spot, I think, of where my brain goes and where I think your brain goes too. Oh my gosh.
My reaction to that is, wow, that is some really well-crafted set of words. It doesn't mean anything.
It is. It just could mean that all of the rendered data is sent down to the headset and then rendered locally on the device through.
Because where the renderer is.
Where the render is, but okay. So yes, client-side rendering, but how is that different than, like we were talking about last week with Diablo, right, playing through HTML5.
Diablo played on the web, right. So, the more I read this, the more it just sounds like this runs on
in a browser,
a PC in the browser, right? And if you're viewing it in a headset, you're viewing it in a headset because the rendering is done there. There's some other elements in here in this release about Sketchfab, being able to download models from Sketchfab, which is pretty awesome, of course. And there's some info about using Play Canvas. This is the second way to build is with Play Canvas, a game engine building tool that lets you build things in the browser. So that's interesting. So they've done a bunch of partnerships. It sounds really cool. It looks like see Viveverse Create in action here. That goes to somewhere else. Yeah, this will be really curious to check out because it looks like it was a pretty substantial effort.
Yeah. And look, I mean, and we're exploring this, right? We're
Yep.
trying to figure out a path forward for everybody and
Yeah.
find,
Well, our buddy Andre, who used to work at Xbox, Andre Vigneault, friend of many people who are probably watching this, now
Yep.
works at HTC, so we can harass him to learn more about this.
I didn't realize that's where he went.
Yep.
So I would not be surprised if he leans heavily into this type of project because when Andre was working over at Mozilla, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was leading a lot of the work that was being done around WebGL and VR in the browser, right? WebVR and stuff like that, right? WebGL. All that stuff. So yay. All right. So
Yeah,
they got somebody there who's
interesting.
super knowledgeable about this stuff too that can really help. Andre's awesome. For those of you that don't know him. All right. Yeah. So anyway, very cool. So I'm eager to go ahead and try that out, and see, to your point, just how flexible or, how, what kind of environments can you build? What kind of engagement is going to be possible through this thing, right? So, yeah. Yep. All right. So what else do you got, buddy?
Well, the other game that popped for me, I was staring at, which maybe I should have led with, is the Monument Valley 3 announcement. Because Monument Valley is awesome. And of course, Monument Valley 1, Monument Valley 2 were huge hits, I think mostly on mobile.
Yeah.
Monument Valley 3 coming December 10th, and it's coming through Netflix as an exclusive. And that's the really surprising thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, good job, Netflix.
Yeah, they have really leaned into this, really leaned into their game stuff. Have you tried out the games on Netflix, like on the TV yet?
I haven't on the TV. No, I've only done it on mobile. And on mobile, I mean, my experience on Android was going to the Netflix app, clicking on a game, and then having it take me to the installer, and then play. And then it plays like a normal game. Like I would never have guessed that it was a Netflix game. Have you tried it on the app itself, on Netflix on TV?
I certainly have, actually. And so what they're doing is they are pixel streaming. They are basically running the game on the server side and dropping it down. But here's the coolest part. Although you and I talked about this, I believe, just last week about poking at glass, right, on your mobile phone, right?
Yep.
And it's hard. It's like, yes, we like having, where's an even better example of that?
Especially with thumbs that have had drill bits pushed through them.
Well, excuse me.
Right.
Ouch.
Yeah, thumbs with drill bits, but we like these sorts of tactile clicky button things, right?
Yep.
Here's the cool thing what Netflix does. So when you start up a game on Netflix in the on your TV, it pops up a QR code and says, "Hey, scan this for the controller." Scan it, and then it turns your phone into the controller for the game that you're about to play. And then the buttons automatically change based on which game you're jumping into. So when you first start, it's just one thumbstick and like one, an A button and a menu button. But then when I jumped into Oxenfree, all of a sudden, all the other buttons populated on the phone. Very slick. Very, very slick.
All right, what are you playing this on? What's the device you're using?
Fire Stick. Literally like a $30 Fire Stick Max. Just connected to my Samsung
try
TV.
This out.
And
Very
it just
cool.
works. And it just works. Now, of course, anytime you're doing streaming like that, you can experience little touches of hitches and things like that. But what I will say is overall, the experience was very, very positive, and Netflix has done a really good job of picking games that lend themselves to this type of an environment, and that's part of the trick, right? You and I have discussed this about, other pixel streaming services that have come and gone over the years, because it's like, you're never going to have to buy another piece of hardware because you're going to play your 4K HDR10 Dolby Atmos game at 120 hertz on a $200 TLC TV or TCL TV and TLC, very good group. TCL, good TVs too. And then you're like, well, you can't do 720 without hitching. Like, why are we doing that again? Right? Right. So, yeah. Oh, Karen Clark with the very good poll there. She said no scrub TVs. I'm like,
no
yes.
scrubs.
Yes. Because, when I take it from Costco, it's hanging out the passenger's side of my best friend's ride. Sorry,
gosh.
Look at that. Yeah. Lyrical master.
Lyrics are a thing.
Anyway, so they've done a good. I think they've done a really good job of balancing the type of games that you would play with the type of environment to create another opportunity for engagement. So kudos to them.
Yeah,
right?
Way to go.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what else it runs on. If it's just like Fire Sticks and other things. So I'll fart around with the smart TV version and report back in next week.
Actually, that would be great. Yeah, I'm loath to turn on all the smart features on all these, different devices, but I may do the same. So I'll go ahead and check it on one of the models that I have at home and see how that works. But if it's just streaming into basically a browser frame, it should just be fine.
It seems like it. Yeah, it seems like it.
Mm-hmm.
We will see.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. All right. What else? What's popping up for you?
So I was just posting about our stream on Facebook, so I was distracted.
And if you wouldn't mind hitting it on Twitter, just because I no longer belong to that platform.
Should we just call it like Elon X or something?
No, we can just call it Twitter. And so Oren says, hey, I've been a Netflix member since they launched games and never played a game once. You're not alone. I think that a lot of people, even, a lot of ex-Twitter, oh my goodness, Karen, you are just on fire today with the quotes. That is awesome. That is, again, really good wordplay. Damn. A lot of people said, they've never played a game on there because a lot of people didn't know that it's really there, or it was difficult to find, or it wasn't on every handset. And to Mark's point, you would just go download the game, and then you'd have to find it on your phone and then jump into play. So there was a lot of friction. This helps to eliminate, some of that friction. But I think, by and large, look, this is a hard pivot. Right. I mean, when your brand is synonymous with just really one thing, how do you pivot to do this? So really, kudos to them.
It's called Netflix. So, Netflix.
Exactly.
I forgot that.
Yes.
Did you see this
with your thumb, right? Is that what you're saying? Flick with your thumb.
Oh, listen to you.
Okay.
What do you think about Secret Level? That one I forgot to call it. You're like, what's Secret Level? I mean, it's like 10 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was my reaction when I saw the name of it. Was like Secret Level. Oh, that's a game developer and a couple other things. Like, it's very familiar. Oh, it's going to be an anthology series of short animated stories, where all the stories look like they come from video games.
They do, and it's done by the team that did Love and Robots, I think,
which is amazing,
right? And who is actually producing that and distributing that?
Who is producing that? Well, I think it's Amazon.
What? Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness! Yes, yeah, it is.
I've heard.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, and one of the first ones is a Pac-Man take on it, right? So I want to see what the heck they're going to do there.
Yeah, me too. I clicked through some of the screenshots going, okay, so what are you going to do for Pac-Man? Is it going to be a story about like a guy in a bar who just can't stop eating bar snacks, or like what's
Ooh, I have no idea. But it does look really, really cool. Really cool. So I'm excited to see where that goes. Make your name a little bigger there. There we go. So that one is going to be awesome. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go ahead and, we'll pop some links in here as we go along. I'll make sure that I find a link to that one.
What else you got?
Oh my goodness. What else do I have here? Indiana Jones, The Great Circle Yay!
Oh,
It's going to be launching
nice.
at the end of this year. I'm a sucker for, well, of course, anything Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah, I hear that.
And Star Wars and all that stuff. Surprise!
Star Trek.
Oh, what?
You're like,
Oh,
and what?
Oh, the feed's coming down now. Oh, okay. Yeah, yes,
come
I
on
know.
now.
I know. Star Trek, absolutely. J.J. Abrams, Star Trek, fantastic.
Yep, it is. I love it, actually.
Actually, I do too. And the casting was so pitch perfect
Yeah,
in
I love
there.
all the Star
Zachary
Treks.
Quinto,
Well,
Chris
except for
Pine. You know.
Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine. There,
Yeah.
yeah, those ones. I mean, one of them wasn't Star Trek, but anyway.
No.
Yeah, there's that. Peter Molyneux's next game was announced.
Yes.
That blew my mind.
Yes. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you know, although I don't like some of the I don't care for some of the snarkiness around the reporting. Oh, this is the make or break for it's like, okay.
Yeah,
look,
snark away. It's the internet.
I know. I know. But
No, I mean, yeah. There's no reason for that, but everybody's gonna do it, right? Oh my god, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah. Do you remember Milo? And you're like, okay, you are when you are at the edge of innovation, right? And you're trying to push those boundaries. I mean, it's trying to show a path forward, right? Yes,
Yeah.
sometimes you could get lost in that soup, but it doesn't take away from the incredible accomplishments that he's had through his career. So I'm eager to see what he does with it.
Yeah. What would you rather do? Run out ahead of everybody so they can see you and shoot at the target on your back, or run behind everybody and just do what everybody else has already done before? How boring is that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, all right. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about the game? Were you able to see kind of?
I watched some of the video, and all I saw was that it was beautiful, and there was a town in a forest, and he was making sandwiches. That's what I saw. And I thought to myself, Peter Molyneux game. It's going to do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more to come, and I don't want to spoil it by watching this whole video, so I clicked away.
Okay, that is fair. That is completely fair. Hey, Oren popped in here and said, "Are you guys excited for Civ 7?"
Yes.
No.
Yeah. Civ 7. Heck yeah.
Yeah, I know Mark is. I'm excited to see the evolution of that stuff. I cannot play RTS games. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Yes, because again, ADHD brain, and so what happens is the subject matter has to align with what I'm doing. So StarCraft was great because I'm like, oh, it's aliens and sci-fi and everything else.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh, did I build this thing again? Like, where is that on the map? And why is there color screaming at me off the side? I'm trying to finish this thing first.
I got it. Yeah. For me, I think of it like a strategic version of Cookie Clicker. I'm like, now I got to upgrade this, and then got to upgrade that. And once I upgrade this, I got to build this over here, and then got to upgrade that.
I like controls that look like this. What did that do? Oh, that's the fire button.
Oh, perfect. Nice.
Did I mention we're going to be using props going forward here? Anyway. Yeah, no, but I'm super. But it is awesome to see that continue going. I had a chance to meet Sid years ago and go spend the day with him up at his studio. And I mean, just, what a brilliant guy. Actually, I've got a really, Elio said, bongos from Samba de Amigo. Yes. Yeah, or Donkey Konga, right? Yes.
Wait, bongos from Samba
de Amigo would be maracas,
maracas,
and
right.
bongos from it, yeah.
Yep.
So, real quick story about Sid. When we were doing the Art of Video Games, I was down at the museum.
Which is what?
What's that?
Which is what?
So the Art of Video Games was the very first art installation about video games and the impact on American culture that was ever held at the American Art Museum in Washington, D.C. And it was a 6,000 square foot installation that covered 40 years of video games, their impact on American culture and technology and all these sorts of things. And what's been really cool is for the past 10 years now, they have been holding something called the SAM Arcade, which is the Smithsonian American Art Museum Arcade. And they do it every summer, and it just packs
nice.
the museum, and they bring in independent developers from all over the world to show their art. And so this is something that, you
Nice.
know, that was started back in 2012, and more than a decade later, it's still having real impact, which is just super gratifying to see. I was the curator and the creator of the exhibition, but none of it was my work, right? It's my friend's work. It was my hero's work. And that's what was so important, right? Was to get those stories told. So we were down there for one of the events, and I was with one of my, you know, cohorts over there at the museum, and we're walking out of this cafe, and I'm like, is that Sid Meier and his wife? And he's just like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think it is. So I went up to him and we were talking. I was like, oh my God, you know, what are you doing just sitting here in the courtyard having a cup of coffee? Like, so we went upstairs and we toured the museum, and he said, hey, why don't you come on up to the studio? So I did. I live on the East Coast. And we were out to lunch, and we were talking about Pirates, right? Which is the game, one of the games he did on the C64. And I said, man, it would be really good. And it was actually, I brought you up. I'm like, oh, I have a really good friend, Mark DeLoura. He's really into games education. Wouldn't it be really cool to take your game, right? Because it's a simpler system, and be able to use it to teach, like, you know, middle schoolers how these types of games are made and how to change stuff. And he goes, the problem is nobody would be able to make any sense of the source code. And I was like, why? And he goes, I had to write my own operating system called Sidtran to make the game because I could not make the C64 do what it needed to do. And if you play the game, there's a cyan colored border around the gameplay window. And he's like, that is essentially a frame buffer, because all the graphics that you saw on the screen were character set changes. So there were no sprites. He was modifying the text character set in the C64,
right.
and they would load into the side of the screen, and then they would be able to shift them. You know, you have blocks of 8x8. They'd be able to shift them one pixel at a time. So it had all this smooth scrolling, because there's no frame buffer. So I basically made a frame buffer on the screen that would load graphics in there that you couldn't see. And as it moved into the playfield, it would recolor to the proper color it should be. I'm like, what?
That's amazing. That's some work.
It is. But this is the whole thing. When we talk about this as an art form, man, it is about stretching the medium to its absolute end, just like Peter Molyneux was doing, right? In the time he was building these things. So, all right. This, by the way, is why it's 2 hours long today, because we're going to get through like 8 stories, but a ton of games industry stories.
Yep.
And fire off into the chat if there's stuff that you want to hear, or you want to talk about, things we should go ahead and cover. Please let us know. Let's see, carrot top in the wings. Yeah, that's what Karen was saying there.
I saw that Genshin Impact was announced as coming to Xbox, which I thought was curious and interesting. I think of it as a mobile game.
Yeah, never played it.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No.
I know it's incredibly popular, and I keep staring at it and thinking I need to play it. But, you know, it hasn't risen to the top yet. Maybe I'll download it after we're off here.
Yeah, I just remembered the when it first came out, it's like, oh, yeah, this is the game that just turns your phone into a space heater, because it was just crushing through, you know,
because the graphics are so hot.
Yes, yeah, and then of course they optimize it and it gets better, and all that other stuff.
And the phones get updated over time.
Exactly. Oh yeah, Elio had a comment here. Mentioned Black Myth on the Xbox. Have you seen anything about this?
Black Myth. Black Myth. Black Myth.
Yeah, let's look that up.
No, I don't know what he's talking about. Tell us more. Oh, wait. Oh, he's talking about the Wukong game.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
What? All right. Let me go ahead and pop that browser back up here so we can go ahead and get everybody on the same page. Here we are. Black Myth. Wukong peaks at 2.2 million players on Steam on the first day.
Yeah. 10 million copies sold in 3 days.
Unbelievable.
Blow my mind. Yeah. I don't know why the Black Myth part of that didn't stick in my brain.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this game that just exploded out of the gate. I just didn't know. The new war. Oh, Orin said the new Warcraft, and Elo said, so disrespectful. I don't know if he believes Orin is disrespectful or we are disrespectful for not watching.
Probably us. It's okay.
Definitely us. Definitely us.
I'm used to it.
But that's what you get when you join Boss Rush. No. Game Science's Black Myth Wukong has made history. Action RPG inspired by Chinese mythology peaked at over 2.2 million players shortly after it launched on August 20th. Highest peak for any single player on Steam. It's the second highest peak on the platform, only behind PUBG's 3.3 million players. What?
Oof.
That is crazy. According to SteamDB, the title has averaged 1.2 million players in its first 30 hours. This means players have experienced 37.2 million hours in Game Science's take on Journey to the West. What I love about that, right? When you look at those numbers, go ahead and break those down in terms of years, people years. Like, it's an insane amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And it is an amount of time and attention that every other form of media wishes they had, right? Because if you're playing that game, you're not texting and you're not watching anything else or listening. No, you are playing the game, right? Full on attention. I love it. Fans have shown to support the game both in terms of sales and reviews. The game is currently the top seller on Steam. 97% of its 180,000 plus reviews. 180,000 reviews.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy. Game received a visibility boost fueled by the culture war. Critics have accused the Chinese publisher of sexism and called its creator policies. According to the New York Times, co-publisher Hero Games sent creators a list of controversial subjects to avoid when discussing the title. These included politics, feminist propaganda, COVID, and China's video game industry policies. Okay. Like, I don't know anything about it, so I can't comment on it, right?
Yeah. Me either. The thing that I found interesting with regard to the story was the background lore of the game is based on this book, Journey to the West.
Yeah.
And that rang a bell for me. I couldn't figure out why, and then I just like looked up what I thought it was. And do you remember? Gosh, Heavenly Sword, Ninja Theory game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
PS3?
it was PS3. Yeah, it was a launch title for PS3. Yeah,
so it's based on the same story.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, kind of, like roughly, right? Like inspired by sort of thing. But I remember hearing about that and thinking how interesting it was that a studio was basing a game off of Chinese story that was super popular there, but they were unfamiliar with. And I thought, that's super interesting. What a great source for more stories for video games. So to see this come out kind of based on the same thing, and apparently Goku from Dragon Ball is also based on this story.
Wow.
So yeah, it seems like a story we should be familiar with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play this game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Hey, thanks for
Monkey
bringing
King.
that up, Ilya. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. All right, what else do you got? Let's see. NVIDIA unveils advances in digital humans and avatar tech at Gamescom. And of course, you got to get that clickbait in there. And the clickbait was Star Wars Outlaws. So yes, let's go click on that article. NVIDIA unveiled a number of advances in gaming technology to delight gamers on the eve of Gamescom 2024. Expo in Cologne, Germany includes improvements in digital humans and avatar character tech, which NVIDIA calls NVIDIA ACE. This includes the company's first small language model for game characters, the NVIDIA Nemotron 4BNIM. Okay.
Great name. Nemotron 4.
Yes, I'm here with my Nemotron.
Nemotron.
Pew, pew. Woo, I do love it though. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. What does it say here? But this, all right. So at first blush here, this leans into something you and I were talking about just last week.
Yep.
Right? That the way forward around this stuff is not to think about LLMs as these massive things that are just sucking up all this information, right? It is now about building the foundational components that identify everything from, language and structure to, anatomy and movement and physics. And then you start building these focused models on top where the data that you are ingesting into the LLM can be identified. It can be verified as, you can verify where it's coming from, those sorts of things. And I think that type of approach is going to kind of assuage a lot of the consternation, right, that some are feeling about AI today, right? Really cool.
Yep. It's interesting. I'm starting to wonder, like, if we were to analyze a game, 3 years ago, and a game today, and a game 3 years from now, and see how many separate components of the game used some kind of neural net to be executed, whether that was an SLM, an LLM, something like DLSS. I've seen people talking about using it for waves and clouds and fog, like particle systems, things like that seem to be really easily. You can use nets to, simulating those things is hard, but we can make them look good using a net and not have to simulate it. So going forward, what are we going to see in terms of like the acceleration of this kind of stuff on the hardware is the interesting, curious part to me. It's like, will we continue to see more and more and more NPU kind of functionality?
Right.
Cool. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well, if you want to take a look back at some of those games that did that, I remember this from, here you go, 1997, Galapagos. Do you remember this game?
Yes, no.
So it was a game where you had this spider, this bug named Mendel, and you can see here on the Wikipedia article that was named after Gregor Mendel, the founder of Mendelian genetics. And you basically had to manipulate the environment to have Mendel get out of the lab or the environment that he was in, and it used this neural network or this neural system that it built to identify things that would cause it pain and things it was afraid of and everything. And it was right here. It was non-stationary entropic reduction mapping, or NERM. NERM was designed to be self-organizing, meaning it does not require prior knowledge of the system it controls. So it says Mendel was supposedly designed to look like any real-world animal, so players would not have too many preconceptions about how it should act and what it's capable of. So here was the problem, and I remember reading about this way back when it launched, was during development, they were, running through the game testing and everything, but all of a sudden, Mendel would kind of go into a corner and then refuse to move. Right?
Really?
Because it figured out like where these danger places were. So what the developers did was they built it in that if Mendel doesn't move, it starts to experience pain. So it has to keep moving. So it's about fighting the environment over its pain, right? Which I think is, so we want to talk about using AI and neural systems. Like, yes, we've been doing it for decades, right, in games. And you look at games like Creatures. Oops, Mark just disappeared on us here. Hey, buddy, hang on. Where did Mark disappear to? We're going to copy his link over and make sure that he gets back in here. Hang on, Mark. I got you coming back in. Let's see. Where is Mark? Where did he go? Let's see. We did lose Mark. All right. So while I'm trying to get Mark back, you all just hang tight here. Let me know in the comments here other things you want us to go ahead and talk about. So hang tight. Let's go ahead and play a little music while I work on getting Mark back in here. I saw that he just dropped off this stream, so I don't know what's going on up there in Seattle, but he's going to rejoin here in a moment. Yeah, hey, as we said, this is going to be a lot of discussion and a little bit of rambling and reminiscing. All right, Mark is back. Let me see if we can go ahead and get him back in to the studio here. And oh, look at that. We have Mark back. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I don't either.
Know what
It
happened.
was all good on my end.
Yeah.
I just shut it down and rebooted, turned it off and turned it back on again.
I keep telling you, stop using all of
Can't
the
help
beta
myself.
builds of your stuff on your production
Internet.
machine.
That's what I do.
But hey, look at what we were able to do. We were able to quickly go ahead and resolve the problem.
And then throw in an IT crowd reference.
Right?
Woo!
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He said the word creatures, though. I got excited because like my first GDC talk that I ever attended was talking about the A life in the game Creatures, and I was so excited to be there. I was so excited.
Yeah. I mean, what Mark is talking about, this game Creatures, it was done, I think, by Mindscape. And wasn't there like 7 different sets of DNA or something that your creatures could be combined, that could combine to create these creatures, and they were semi-autonomous and they did all these things. But the coolest thing was you could take a floppy disk and you could take your creature and you could save it to a disk and then send it into the company, and they would dissect it and show you all of its genealogy and how it worked. And what happened there was people were getting distraught because there was this one case where a creature was born and it would not move or respond. And they were like, oh, was this a stillborn situation? And it wasn't. What had happened was it was born deaf, blind, and mute, like unable to move. And so it was all of this kind of recessive traits and inbreeding and stuff between them that made this thing happen. So we've been experimenting with this stuff, like I said, for decades. But I don't know how much you heard, buddy, but the Galapagos thing, they basically, if Mendel stopped moving, he would experience pain. So he had to keep moving. So it was always this push-pull between danger it understood and the threat of being hurt, right? Which is
I like it.
Very interesting to
I love the video game industry is a great test study, I think, to look at the evolution of artificial intelligence over time, or artificial life forms, like simulating something which appears to be intelligent. We've had so many great advancements there over time as people have wrestled with hardware constraints, software constraints, complexity constraints. Yeah, the GDC Vault is like a great place to go and just look at the talks that have been given every 5 years. Like, what's the state of the art? What's the state of the art? What's the state of the art? And in the last couple of years, it's just blown up, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a completely different direction than things were going before. So it's super interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share this screen here with everybody too. If you want to go and see some real fun stuff, go check out on YouTube. Here is the this is the page, and then here is the link. I'll go ahead and post it in the chat. The Computer Chronicles, which was a show that was done in the Bay Area in the 1980s forward. Here's an episode from March 16th of 1984 on artificial intelligence.
It's got Chris Melissinos in it. No. Oh, wow, artificial intelligence. That's amazing.
And the craziest part about this is when you look at the people in here, it's like these people are all probably like in their 30s, early 40s, but they all look like they're 60 and 70 years old. Like it was a thing back then. But yeah,
I'm gonna feed this into an LLM and have it summarize it for me and see what it says.
That is so smart. That is so smart.
Giggles.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so definitely go ahead and check those out. It is fun to go back and understand where we came from and how we keep building things forward, right? So, all right.
Yeah, you were going to video, and it reminded me of something. Well, it's a little bit orthogonal to what we're talking about. We used to go to a conference like GDC or a conference like E3, whatever, and we'd all come together. We see each other in person. If you weren't there, you felt you had the worst FOMO ever. All you could do was like watch what was coming out in the press. So I missed Bit Summit in Kyoto this year, and I missed SEDEC this year, which is the Japanese Developers Conference. And I was sad to miss them both. I haven't been to Bit Summit ever. I haven't been to SEDEC since like 2012.
I've not been to Japan yet, buddy. So.
Well, it's there's so much of it now live streamed. Like SEDEC had at least two live streams going on the whole time. And Bit Summit had Bit Summit Drift, I think which was a live stream that was going on during that. I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. Like the world for game development gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Like I can sit here and I can participate remotely and like learn what's going on, practice my Japanese, which was a big part of that for me. But how amazing is that? Like I was trying to find the same thing for Gamescom, but I didn't really find Gamescom live streams going on, or DevCom live streams. Maybe they were there and I just missed them.
Yeah, no centralized ones, right? Like Keeley, his stuff is kind of the centralized stuff, you know. But you know, I get it. It's funny you bring that up because, you know, I was thinking earlier this year about, you know, the fact that E3 is no more. And a channel that I watch, I love on YouTube, is called GameSack, and they're great. Well, now it's just Joe, but they used to be Joe and Dave. Anyway, they posted this link. It's like, here's E3 footage from like 2006, and it's like 2 hours of them just walking around with a camera filming everything.
That's awesome.
And you know, I mean, for those of you that had never been to an E3, Gamescom is really kind of the closest thing. Space World is also, you know, that type of thing, consumer focused. But man, it was just this cacophony of light and games. And I mean, it was the greatest arcade you could ever possibly be in. And so, yes, it's wonderful to be able to see all those live streams. In fact, I still have CD-ROMs that I burned of like the PS3 or the PS4 announcement from E3 and the Xbox One, right? So I had all of those. But yes, it's great that we can see all of it, but it is missing something when you're not there, you know?
It is.
It is.
Yep.
It is. We are still human beings that need to contact other human beings, right?
That's true.
Oren was saying here in the chat, Japan, one of the top game development regions. Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Oren had also mentioned Stormgate. Have you seen Stormgate?
Stormgate. I'm mixing up lots of storms in my head at the same time. Yes. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, this one is, let's see. Let's go bring up that browser once again. This is Stormgate Victory Loves Company, made for the PC campaign 1v1 3P co-op with an editor and is free to play.
Oh, it's from Frost Giant. Oh, yeah, right.
Yes. So have you seen it?
I have not.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, I think it went to early access. Like it was announced a couple of years ago, right?
It
But it went to early access like a couple of weeks ago, maybe.
Yeah, Stormgate.
Not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm just going to run the video while we talk over it there. Yeah, Stormgate, welcome to early access. I mean, it looks beautiful. Oh, I can't hear it, Tim.
Boy, I always I'm always torn by early access because, man, I'm a geek and I want to see things early, but at the same time, I'm like, I want to wait until you're done. So,
well, sure. But it's also the reason I buy. That's always the reason why I buy Gen 1 hardware, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I'm like, Gen 1 hardware? Yep, it's not completely closed. Right, so,
also not completely working.
That's okay. They'll patch it. They'll patch it up and get it done. So I always try to buy Gen 1 hardware if at all possible. Like the PS3 Gen 1 with the Emotion Engine in it and the PS1 chipset in it to do all of the I/O. That was the greatest build of it because it ran natively. PS2 ran native PS1 games. And think about that. The I/O controller was the chipset for the PS1.
Dude, you're singing my song here. I'm like, I'll see some of these wrinkles.
Who am I talking about? Mark was basically part of the expression, the poor schlub that had to go out and explain to everybody how to program the cell processor.
Yeah, there's a great article and video of me out there talking about how the PS3 was going to be easy to program. Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of the talks you gave at GDC, and you were just like, oh yeah, if you can, really wrangle, it's basically kind of, just unlimited power, but you got to know what you're doing. Like, this is not for the faint of heart, you know?
You want a bucket of DMA? A bucket of processors that all can communicate really fast? Great.
Yeah,
You
but if you have
go
a cell
program
phone,
those.
with a cell chipset and a refrigerator, man, we can go and connect on your network.
Damn
and then,
right.
Yes.
Exactly. Think of
Yes.
all the things you could do. Oh, wait.
Yes, I know. Nick
It was a great
Negroponte.
vision.
If
I
Nick
know.
Negroponte
Nick-
had
yeah.
made, $1 off of every type of thing that was made using this, cloud stuff that would stitch together in these networks, like that was his whole
Yeah.
thing, right? Building grid systems. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Oh, I can think of when you say Nick Negroponte is one laptop per child.
Oh,
which
yeah,
was
yeah.
A really amazing effort.
Yeah, that one was amazing. And now you can go buy like a laptop off of Alibaba for $100. Like,
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally true.
Yeah, that's super capable,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really crazy. Oren said, yeah, go ahead and play Stormgate, play it today, and say goodbye to your family.
My family's not here right now, so that's great. I got something to do.
Oh, boy.
Thanks.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Mary Beth's at work.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yay, shout out to MB right there.
Yeah.
Let's see. The most anticipated video games of 2023. Let's see. It was an article on GamesBee here from Rachel, and it was Legend of Zelda: Two Tears. Wait, when was this one done though? Oh, why is this popping up in their feed? There's something wrong with the feed. This is, you know why? Because I've ripped all the way down through there. Oh, I know why. Because I'm stupid. No, because I was searching. I searched for Black Myth, and now I'm not on the main page. I'm on the search results. Okay, so let's get back to 2024 and not worry about 2023. Let's see.
One of the awesome things about Gamescom that we're going to completely miss is when I went last year, I was blown away by the massive number of indie games that were there, especially at booths that were regionally sponsored. So this doesn't happen as much in the US, but in the EU in particular, countries seem to be competing against each other to highlight the indie games in their regions and to give grants and sponsorships. And so there's tons of booths there that are like, here's the Ukraine booth, and here's a bunch of games from Ukraine. Here's the game, the Poland booth, and here's games. And there's so much amazing stuff. I mean, you can't see it all.
Right.
And so from here, I'm like, how do I get eyeballs on all the indie games that were at Gamescom? Because they're not going to be in Jeff Keighley's thing. Not very many of them,
right?
At least, right? I'm not sure if anybody has ideas about that. Let me know. There must be some like Twitch streams or something. There's got to be a bunch of good info.
Yeah, for sure. And I do love that, again, as you mentioned, when you walk around GDC and you saw all the Swiss game development booth. They had all these different games in there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe Chris Charla knows. So Chris Charla, who runs ID at Xbox, like he is the guy who's tapped into the indie game community probably better than anyone. Maybe he's got some ideas on this.
Yeah, we should definitely reach out to him as well and ask. We should have Chris on. Chris is awesome.
Should.
For those of you that don't know IOCat, Chris is an OG games person. Not only that, he's also a skateboarder. He's he loves punk rock. He also writes his own fanzines that I swear to God, if it was possible to get him a mimeograph to put in his basement for him to just churn out zines like that.
I can still smell those.
I was about to say you'd either be high from it.
Yeah.
Or and for those of you that don't know what a mimeograph machine is, this was the precursor to No, they're not. No, they're not.
It's all right.
It was the precursor to Xerox machines. And schools would use, and you would take the printed document you had, and you would put this chemical on there, and it would have a stack of paper. You'd turn this big drum, and it would just fire out these papers. But They were like, don't smell it. Don't smell it because it'll get you high. And every kid in middle school just taking the markers too. Don't smell the markers. Yes, exactly. It's so good.
Now I'm just like, yeah, because YouTube is the source for all now. You can go on there and look at how a mimeograph machine works.
Yeah.
You won't get the smell, but you'll at least, man, it looks like it's from the 40s.
It does. And while you're at it, then go look at the Connection Museum up in Seattle there that has all the old, like, turn of the century telephone equipment that they still keep up and running.
Hell yeah.
It's insane. And the amount of asbestos and lead that must be crawling in that space is insane. Oh, so good.
In all the best ways.
Yes, in all the best ways. Of course, of course, of course. Yeah, the game that we were talking about before, which one was it? The Black Myth. The name of the studio again was what?
Game Science? Is that what you said?
Game Science. I would love to know how big the studio is. So if anybody out there that's listening wouldn't mind just going searching for that, would love to know just how big the studio is. Oh, Tom, I'm not the best, Tom. We are the best because we are all here together. So, right? That's exactly right. Thank you, buddy. So good to see you pop in there. Tom, the video game lawyer. Anybody that doesn't know Tom, make sure you go and connect them. He's awesome. He is awesome. All right. More video game news. What are we going to talk about? Mark? Borderlands 4 teased at Gamescom for 2025 release. Yeah.
What
Borderlands 4 teased at Gamescom.
Borderlands 4.
Yeah, yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. So that one is going to be good. I'm not going to spoil it by popping that up there because,
Yeah.
Oh,
Squid Game
Yeah.
game.
Oh, yes.
Squid Game. Yeah.
Squid Game.
Right? Game. Squid Game.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and fire that one out there. Let's see. Where is that one? I think some of these we talked about last week, like Iron Galaxy CEO Adam Boyes steps down after 8 years. It'd be interesting to see where he goes. So let's see. Where is the Squid Games game that we were talking about here? Because that was a Netflix.
It was. I think it was announced at Jeff Keighley's thing. That's where I saw info about it.
Yeah, I just saw it here. Where the heck did it go? It'd be interesting to see what it is. I have no idea what it is. If anybody knows,
there's. Looking at there's a trailer for it, which looks a lot like a Roblox game.
By the way, hold on, Mark. So when Tom said Chris is the best, he meant Chris Charla, not me, with an exclamation point. So Tom. Nobody go follow Tom because Tom is getting all. Oh, now he laughed at me. No, I'm just kidding. Tom is amazing, and I do agree. Chris Charla is the best. One of the things that we should mention, speaking of Chris, and we'll just give the big shout out here is, as Mark said, Chris founded ID at Xbox, independent developers at Xbox. He was also one of the people that really leaned into underserved communities and diverse, having a more diverse developer landscape. Also leaned into things like accessibility control. Like Chris has been a champion for independent developers, which really is, it's punk movement stuff, right? So this aligns very much with who he is. And Chris has done a tremendous service to the entire global industry at Microsoft and beyond by being a real champion of independent developers. I love Chris. He's awesome, always kind, always generous, wicked smart. Make sure you go ahead and follow Chris Charla if you don't already, because the dude is absolutely amazing.
Like he lives here in Seattle, as all cool people do.
Yeah.
Or at least a large majority of them.
Wow, man. You all are just coming with the hits, aren't you?
Yeah, we're gonna be there after that. They keep thinking.
Yeah, in fact, there you go, buddy. I'm just gonna disappear on you. Tom is retired, so leave him alone. Tom, you're never going to
know.
be retired.
You know, you're talking about Tom Biscaglia, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Not being on the LinkedIn streaming page. I didn't
Oh,
see
that's
which
right.
Tom it
I
was.
apologize. Yeah, you were on. So Mark is monitoring the
I'm on the
YouTube one, and I'm monitoring the LinkedIn
and Tom, I don't know if you know this, but Tom has a really great YouTube channel, and he is an amazing guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from being a fantastic lawyer, and I think every day he records some of his guitar playing and posts it up. He's amazing.
All right, let's go find
You should
Tom's
check it out.
channel. Let's go. You keep talking. I'm going to go find Tom's channel here.
I should keep talking.
Yes.
What should I talk about?
I mean, I
What
know
exciting
we
thing.
are great to look at, but they probably want to hear us talking. So
I'm looking for props.
here we go. We found Tom's site right here, or his channel rather. So we're going to go ahead and pop this into here for you all. Yeah, and definitely make sure you subscribe.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. I found some new news.
Yeah.
New. PlayStation launches incubator project for Middle East and North Africa developers, which is great.
Yes, absolutely.
I love this is one of the interesting things that's happened in the game industry is how it's evolved over the course of 25 years from being US, UK, Japan,
Yep.
to more and more regions, more countries. And what I love most about that really is that all of the stories of people from that region become available to us because they make great games about, lived lives in regions we don't understand and civilizations we don't understand well. And then they share that.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than that. So I'm excited to hear this. So Sony's looks like expanding more into Middle East and North Africa. This says Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq eligible to apply. Great. Fantastic.
Love it. So I want to share just a quick story about that. I had the excellent fortune of meeting a gentleman who is the CEO of I think it's Malio Games, and a Northern Africa company. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I may have. Oh, I have Tom's music playing in the background there, and just wonderful. So now they're doing this thing. They're doing a game with Disney. The Smart to Fun developer, which employs staff in Cameroon, Ghana, Kenya, and South Africa, is creating the official tie into Disney's Iwaju, which is a new animated series launching on Disney Plus February 20th. So it launched early this year. And what we were talking about was, we were talking about accessibility, democratization of information, commoditization of hardware, access to speed. And so to your point, even 15 years ago, we didn't have the ability to reach people where they are so they can create and give them the tools and the power to create, right, the way we are today. But he also shared with me about the fact it's more than that. And he said, when you're living in a remote, African village and your family business, may be a food establishment, but you don't have running water in the space. And it takes you hours a day to go retrieve water for this so you can survive, is all time away from being able to avail yourself of that information, of those technologies. So when we think about access, and it really hit me, hard between the eyes, because I'm just like, I always talk about, you have access to all this information. Like, as I, said last week, right, when we were coming up, like, this was the access we had to our information, right? Yep. He's like, it's more than access to information. It is about making sure that people have the ability, bandwidth, time, assurances, peace to be able to avail themselves of those tools. So as we think about how we're going to be a better community, how we're going to reach more people globally, it's not just about access to the technology. It's about enabling them to dive deep. And I thought it was very powerful, and it was a privilege to meet him
Yeah, it's we never really. It's pretty rare for us to get insight into what things people go through to make the games that we play. We're just sitting here in our offices, or for me, it's like my basement.
Right.
And I pulled down a game from Steam that could have come from anywhere, could have been made by anyone. I barely. It's rare that I find out anything about the person that made something unless it got a bunch of press, right?
Yeah.
But you can't like. I keep going back to the people who were making games in the bomb shelter in Ukraine. About a year ago, the Ukraine game jam that happened in the bomb shelter. I'm like, the things people went through because they're like, this is the medium that I can use to share my experience with the world. It's what I'm an expert in, and so I'm going to use this form.
Yeah.
I just love that.
I do too. Yeah, several years ago when Scholastic used to actually have a video game competition, I had the chance to be a judge for two of them. One was with Tony Hawk and Susan, who founded, or one of the founders of Games for Change. So we were like the three panels there. That's another story for another day, because that was a cool dad moment, with your kids of, oh, you want to come hang out with me and Tony Hawk and play video games all day? And they're, what? Type of thing. And then the second one was myself and Kiki Wolfkill. And I apologize. I forget the name of the other judge who was there. But Kiki and I were sitting down and we were playing through this one game that was created by, I believe it was a woman from North Korea. And it was about her family escaping North Korea.
Nice.
But the stories in there were of cannibalism, of, a severe disease, of oppression, these sorts of things. I mean, you couldn't help but tear up, And the fact that we now have a global platform to allow these stories to be told and give a clearer or broader view of our world is just extraordinary. But games have always been breaking those boundaries, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. All right. So yes, to more technology, access, reach, and ability to dive into those things. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Yeah. All right, what else you got?
I just was thinking about what I'm playing, even though we've got a long period of time left to talk. Usually we do that at the end, but I got so excited about this game.
Uh-oh. So you're going to want to talk about the game you're playing right now?
Well, we could. You know what? Here it is. It is what I'm playing, but it's good news as well. So let's do it from the news perspective. Do you know Luke Muscat?
That name is familiar, but no. I would say that I don't know Luke.
So you must follow Luke's YouTube channel. If you don't.
Okay.
Because he's been making some pretty fantastic videos as he has worked to make games on his own.
Oh, okay.
So he's been spending as much time working on building videos as he has been building his game. So there's he was a designer of Jetpack Joyride, designer of Fruit Ninja. And he's made some great videos about those experiences this one's got 1.4 million views. Anyway, he made a game called Feed the Deep, and it's a game made by him. It's a single person game, which I'm always fascinated by. Just, what can a single person do?
Right.
Things like Stardew Valley, which took, forever to make, but then was a huge, huge, huge hit. Jonathan Blow's game Braid probably fits in that category, although I know he had a couple people helping him with the art. Etc. Anyway, Feed the Deep is Luke's game, and you are diving down into the water to feed what the deep is, which I shouldn't spoil because I didn't know, so you shouldn't know either. But it's largely like a scuba sort of game, and it reminds me a little bit of oh boy, I'm not even gonna come up with the name of this game. There's a sort of space game format as well, where you're a ship and you're flying through terrain and you're picking up things and carrying them out. There's a game that's like 100 years old that I forgot the name of, but it reminds me of this. So Feed the Deep, you're diving down and you're finding tokens, you're finding coins, you bring them up, you cash them in at the shop so that you can be underwater longer. You can carry more stuff. You can carry it more quickly. You dive down again. So he describes it as a roguelike because it's kind of a one and done, thing like that. You play it
Cool.
10, 15 minutes, half hour. Super fun. So yeah, I've been farting around with that. It has replaced my Animal Well addiction after I got my first completion on Animal Well.
Uh-oh.
I didn't wind up 100%ing Animal Well. I transitioned to Luke's game, so you should check it out. I highly recommend it. And you know what? I bought it on Steam, and it cost me $5.94.
What?
Which is less than I would pay for a coffee. Go get an Americano here. It cost me about $7. So I felt bad. I wanted to give him more money. I told him that. I was like, it's too cheap. But maybe he'll find ways to make more money off of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I also posted the link here on LinkedIn, and I popped up the site and played the trailer there. Yeah, we'll definitely go check out his stuff, and we'll go pick up the game. And since you brought that up, I'm bringing this up. Another channel to watch is Lazy Devs Academy. This guy, Christian, and this is where I've been learning Pico 8.
Oh, awesome.
So this guy is amazing. And he has a, like right now, I was going through the simple shmup tutorial. Then he has an advanced shmup tutorial that is now up to, where are we?
84.
84 episodes.
Wow.
And he goes in, and when you go into his video here, he is wonderful. He is a wonderful teacher. He breaks down how to structure stuff, and then he'll start developing a particular area, and then he goes, oh, but wait a minute. Now we have this problem. Okay, so let's back it up. Let's take out all the stuff we just did, and now here's how you fix that problem. That's awesome. He is absolutely incredible. So yeah, definitely check out his stuff. And then at the end of every episode, he does this thing called the doggy bonus or something like that. And he's like, okay, before the next episode, here's the challenge. Instead of having one bullet come out, figure out how you use the same routine to make an unlimited spread of bullets come out. And then when he starts the next episode, he's like, oh, did you figure it out? Here's how you would do that. He's amazing. Absolutely, really, honestly, the best teacher that I found for this stuff. So definitely check him out.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I want to get him on an episode of Rewind so I can interview him and say, how? Why? Like, what? What are you doing? So, I mean, I even download these on YouTube Premium onto my device, like when I'm traveling, so I can watch episodes and work on my little game as I'm traveling. So, yeah, definitely go check him out. Lazy Devs Academy is the name of of his channel. Yeah, he's really, really cool. Very, very cool. All right. Let's see. Other game industry news. Anybody have anything? Let's see. Karen Clark said Robotron for the game that you were talking about, Feed the Deep. Robotron, of course, Robotron 2084, the very best arcade game ever made by the brilliant Eugene Jarvis.
She's trying to give me tips on the game that I've forgotten the name of.
Yes. But once you
find that.
But once you throw Robotron in there, that's it. And then Oren said, "Hey, thanks for supporting Luke. Brandon, nice, just subscribed with great content. Yeah, just really amazing stuff, isn't it? We're talking about access to information." Like, it's insane, right? It is absolutely insane.
Oh my God. You know what? I think the game that I was trying to remember was Gravatar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Gravatar.
And then there was a sequel-y thing from Gravatar. So in Gravatar, you do have to go in between two different areas of land to shoot at things. So there was a takeoff of Gravatar where you had to go through those and pick up things and carry them off as well. I'm trying to forget.
Yeah, let's go take a look at Atari's Gravatar, and it was a vector-based game. Lunar Lander is a little bit like that too, right? Those mechanics.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So kind of like Robotron, sort of. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Robotron. The reason we have twin sticks, right? because of Robotron.
Totally.
Yeah. It's also, there's this lore about it that the very first Robotron 2084 cabinets that they pushed out. Karen, it's not a stretch. You are all good. You are all good. The very first cabinets had to be recalled because people were getting so frustrated with the game that there were instances where they were actually cracking the control panel because they would shake the machine so violently that they were basically ripping the sticks up. And so they had to reinforce it with steel underneath to make it stop doing that, which I love.
Because game players are passionate people.
But because Robotron, to quote Eugene Jarvis's comment, he said, once you get to like level 10 or 15, it's a bastard of a game.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's my favorite arcade game of all time.
Would that I could ever see anything past like level 6, but
Oh, see, man. Skills to pay those bills. All right. Yeah. Once you get past the first, like the robo stage, the robots that then spawn and they shoot the projectiles that just bounce everywhere. Get past that one and you can, you're doing all right. Well, we did have a little bit of, I haven't really heard of this week of large layoffs or things of that nature. So that's been like the first time in a while that it's escaped my attention. And it could be just from all the news about Gamescom, but it feels like, and Amir Satfat actually said in one of his posts recently on LinkedIn that we're starting to see more hiring happening, right? And that the trend line that he has been observing actually shows that we are the studio's closing and people are on the downward swing right now. So hopefully, as we were all kind of hoping, by the end of this year, we'll be back. Oh, that's right. Ubisoft, they did lay off a few people. Right. Not that's a few, 40 people. It's not a few, it's 40. And even
out
if
of San Francisco.
Yeah. Your town and a place you used to work.
I did. That's why that one stuck in my head. I was a little surprised by that. I know they've grown since I was there. That's been 12 or 14 years ago that I was at Ubisoft, but still have a very soft spot for Ubisoft. So I was sad to hear that.
Yeah. Hopefully, again, soft landings for our colleagues, that were impacted by this. I do have another piece of news, but I'm going to look it up here while we are talking. I'm going to share this with you here. You go ahead and bring up another one while I look this up.
Yeah. Okay, this one, I forgot about this news. So James Gewirtzman has raised money for a middleware business to manage art assets. Raised $4 million. He's the CEO now. I think this company Mudstack was already in existence, and he's come on as CEO and helped raise some money.
Yeah.
Which seems like a great idea. Oh my God, because it's only harder and harder to manage all the art assets for a game, right? You need good tools to be able to preview things, store things, share things across different titles if you're a studio with multiple titles. This is just a great idea. So I'm not quite sure, the extent of the tool. I haven't seen the tool itself. Not sure what the status of it is, but James, long history in the game industry, was CEO of PlayFab.
Yep.
Which was purchased by Microsoft.
Yes.
So a lot of people might be familiar with the PlayFab material. So he's got great cred in this space. He was at A16Z also quite a little while ago.
Yeah, he was one of the people that founded one of the first game funds there. I think it was like a $420 million fund or something like that. Right? The numbers are
holy cow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's super curious. So yeah, check that out. If you haven't heard of that already, Mudstack is the name of the company.
Oh, yeah. Very cool. Also, Dan Black just joined the chat here and said, 2 of my favorite people. Well, since I got a name wrong before, I hope you're talking about me and Mark because you're one of our favorite people. So, so yay, Dan Black.
Dan Black.
Dan Black. So I did find, so yes, definitely go ahead and check that out. And it is a huge, it is an area that needs solving, right? Especially when we're talking about the massive amount of consumer-generated content and being able to manage that flood of assets that I mean, think about it from a developer's perspective. Once UGC was cracked open, I mean, they're on the hook to make sure it's not copyright material, it's not antisocial, it's not illegal material, like all of these other things. But it's coming in at such an insanely ridiculous pace that it becomes really difficult to manage. So more tools that can better manage that massive influx. And this is also where AI tools are going to be able to lean in to help identify, right, or flag troublesome or problematic content. So, good for them for picking that up.
I think that I know we have differences of opinion about using generative AI or AI generally for things, but user-generated content and voice chat and things like this are perfect things for AI to go after. Like the ToxMod stuff from Modulate, I think it's super interesting in being able to identify in real time instead of after the fact whether you've got some bad behavior going on.
Did you mention ToxMod, a fantastic AWS partner? Yes.
I forgot. Didn't you guys have an announcement?
We do a lot of work with them. Sure do.
Yeah, there was an announcement just like last week or the week before.
Yep.
You didn't bring it up because you're a good man. August 19th. There it is. You're right. Modulate and AWS team up to accelerate adoption of voice intelligence technology.
Exactly.
You just let me stumble right into that one, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, again, yes, well, I work for a particular company. This is about us and our industry. Happy to go ahead and highlight the incredible work that my colleagues are doing here too. And there's just a lot of it. Just a lot of it. True. So yeah, ToxMod, really, really cool. Stephen Peacock, the Mad Peacock says digital asset provenance is going to be critical in the future. Completely agree.
Yep.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yep.
So I did find the link that I wanted to share with everybody. So again, Ami Satvat has created the ultimate jobs mapping of the games industry. Now, I know this is a bit of an eye chart here, so let me see if I can just blow that screen up a little bit there. Boom, boom, boom. He was able to go ahead and work on a system that now identifies the cities, countries, and continent of all the open jobs in his community's job registry.
You know what he should do is team up with Game Dev Map.
Yeah. Yep. And so now you can literally see for all of the jobs that are available through the incredible resource and selfless work that he does, where everything is located globally. Incredible.
Yeah, and that's really cool.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that it's getting updated by the real-time update of the jobs listings and stuff that are being contributed in. What is really cool here is that remote jobs, 1,980 jobs in their directory that are remote, right?
Nice.
Which is really, really cool. But yeah, they go, I mean, when we're talking about, global reach, Cairo, Heliopolis, Casablanca, Lagos, Durban, Johannesburg. I mean, yeah, just really, really awesome.
Whoa, 946 in Shenzhen. That's amazing.
And then by city, and you can see, 6.7% of all open game jobs are in Shenzhen. Right? Shenzhen, Shanghai, Montreal, Tokyo, London.
Tokyo, number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Phew, my Japanese skills are still going to be
okay. No, they will always be in use.
French Canadian. Maybe I should be learning French Canadian instead. Montreal. Right
Perhaps. Yes. Indeed. Let's see. What else did they have in here? And then by state and region, California, 1,113 jobs open right now in California.
Karen says Tabernacle.
There you go.
French Canadian thing.
And then by country, the sum of all the jobs, 16.4% of all open jobs are in the U.S. So yeah, I mean, it's
great,
really fantastic. So once again, really awesome work. If you are not following him on LinkedIn, you are missing out.
He really should team up with the Game Dev Map folks if he hasn't, because I love spreadsheets, as everybody loves spreadsheets, but I love graphics a little more. And it would be great to be able to combine these two efforts, which I think neither of them are like revenue generating. So maybe maybe between the two of them, they can make something even stronger together.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of friends, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight this article that popped up on gamesindustry.biz for our very good friend, my former co-founder of a startup that I had a while ago, Eugene Evans, who is the senior vice president of digital licensing over there at Hasbro and all that stuff. And he said, and by the way, if you don't know who Eugene Evans is, you need to go ahead and research his rise in the games industry back in the 1980s in the UK, because there are some amazing stories about him, including one around a Lotus Esprit that was purchased for him when he was like 17 years old as like a bonus for the games that he was developing for the company he worked for at the time. I think part of, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the Bandersnatch movie that was done on Netflix kind of centered around their company. So it was like a fictionalized, it was a fictionalized version of the company he worked for. And Eugene is just absolutely brilliant and kind. He said, so we do have AAA games that are in development. We've announced some partnerships that we have, like with Starbreeze and Gameloft, to build D&D games. I'll leave your imagination where they might take that. But we think that beyond RPGs, there are lots of ways to express D&D and Magic, and are only at the very beginning of exploring what digital expressions of Magic the Gathering, can be. And he said here that Hasbro is going all in on becoming a digital play company. I hope they don't get entirely out of physical games. We still need those. But it was, what do you say? They're basically every game property they have is going to be coming to video games at some point. Every game property that Hasbro has, right? What is it? At the moment, with a lot of risk concern with the industry as a whole, people are trying to find ways to mitigate that risk and bring an established IP into the market in a very effective way. So definitely go ahead and
what are you reading?
Check that out. Huh?
What are you reading?
I'm reading Wizards of the Coast. There are lots of ways to express Dungeons and Dragons beyond RPGs on the gamesindustry.biz website. Senior Vice President of Digital Licensing Eugene Evans says there's almost no Hasbro IP that isn't heading to games. That's a pretty big announcement, I think. Right?
I like that.
And it happened over there in Cologne. Yeah, so let's see. More articles. Anybody that's listening in right now, if you have any other comments or stories, articles, things like that, that you think we should be talking about, please go ahead and fire that up. That would be great. Oh, I have to say, Mark, I just get tired. We just get tired of being right, just get tired of being right. Techland. Shorter standalones like Dying Light the Beast are the future of games. So I don't know what it's going to take, right, for people to just say, stop hiring advisors, just listen to Boss Rush, and you'll be good to go, right? Because we have been I've been screaming about this for at least the past 4 to 5 years. We've had this discussion, right? That this is going to be the way, because it's the way we are changing the way we consume content. And it's great to see that other companies are starting to fall in line with that thinking, because you can't keep going after that market of 60, 80, 100-hour games if you don't have the war chest, right, to actually go build towards those things. It becomes really, really difficult to do. And yes, you have the Stardew Valleys and you have the Minecrafts and stuff like that, but how many hundreds of thousands of games don't do that, right? So, Techland, they said smaller content is going to be the way to go.
This article you're riffing off of, I pulled up, and I have to laugh that these smaller content is 20 hours.
Yeah, right? 20 hours. But that is small content.
You're right. It is. I know, you're right. Yeah.
Hey, man, you could finish it in a day. Yeah. Leaves you 4 hours to go to the bathroom, get something to eat, not get yelled at. Yeah, but 20 hours, right?
Yeah.
Because everything can't
20
be. We don't just, we as players don't have enough time to consume every 60, 80, 100-hour game that we want to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Honestly, if you're working for 5 years with a 500-person dev team to build a 20-hour game, that's like the sustainability model is something we have to call into question.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, which is why tools are going to make it easier to get undifferentiated components of development out of the way so developers can just focus on making better games.
Yep.
Is absolutely critical path for our industry.
Like AI, like finding good ways to use AI in ways that are
Absolutely.
ethical and that we're all happy with. Yep.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. I don't need another person to draw me a crate made out of 4K by 4K texture maps.
Yes.
Pretty sure I can just generate one of those.
Yes.
Happy. Or copy it from another game that I've made, or use Kenny's open source stuff, which is all awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would also say, yes, and how many different ways can you build a leaderboard? How many different ways you're going to build an auth system? How many different ways you're going to build,
all that.
And it was like, stop doing that. Start focusing on building the games. I always use, I love analogies that really lean into our kind of technology trajectory over the past 25 years. There isn't a single person that we know that's listening to this right now that goes and builds their own app server to serve an app on the web or to a device. Like, that's been sorted.
Or web server.
Right.
I'm going to write my own web server.
Yeah. There are people that will do it because...
Oh, yeah.
Because just like my mush overnight oat says, you can do hard things, right? Yeah, you can, but you shouldn't have to, right? Do them all the time.
You're totally reminding me of, you're like, don't make your own leaderboard. And there's like upside downside here, right? Like, you might invent something. If you write your own leaderboard, you might create something completely new and interesting experience that nobody's ever seen before. That will revolutionize the world. And I think of it like I think of the Tesla door handles. So we have a 2016 Tesla S, a car which I love. I think it's amazing. And it has these door handles that you start up the car, or you unlock the car, the door handles come out, they pop out. And then when the car is moving, they pull in to, improve the aerodynamics of the car. The door handle, you would think, is something that 100 years of car development, they've probably perfected, car companies, but somebody decided we're going to make our own door handles. Okay. Our door handles on the 2016 Tesla, man, I swear they break every year or two. And I have to get into that. I'm not going to pay somebody to fix them. So I get into that door, I pull the handle out. It takes me like 5-6 hours to get the handle out of there because it wasn't really designed for maintenance. And the part that breaks costs $5 maybe. You put it back in there and everything's good again. I'm like, okay, so you could have used somebody else's knowledge about how to make a door handle. Didn't have to reinvent the wheel. You could have focused on things that differentiate the car. But maybe they thought, like, oh, it's gonna make the car look so cool when those pull in.
Yes, that will make the car look cool. But
it's like you could have focused other areas.
Yeah, because guess what? The door handles, the amount of drag that it is causing your car when you're driving 65 miles an hour on the interstate, there isn't.
Probably.
I'll tell you what, I will give you the dollar over the entire lifetime of your driving in your whole life in terms of gas that it's going to waste. It's like at some point, right? I had in my brain, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And that reminded me of Juicero.
Juicero is another one.
If people don't know what this is, here you go. This company, they raised $120 million to create a juicer that you got these pouches of juice. You would order from them and you put it into the machine and it would scan it and would tell you what it is and would squeeze it out and everything else. And then when it was being demonstrated, a reporter picked up the bag and just squeezed it and the juice came out and said, "Why do I need to buy that?" And literally that one review cratered the company. It was so absurd. That juicer, it wasn't even a juicer. It was a press, a juicing press that was priced at $700 in 2016. Like, it's just absurd,
Amazing.
right? So, holy cow. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yes. So, innovate in places that make the difference and know who you are developing those games for, right?
Yeah, there's an bottomless pit of things that you can attempt to revolutionize by reinventing them.
Yes.
Try to choose ones that are gonna have maximum impact in the world, not just in your day-to-day. I don't know. I totally understand like wanting to rabbit hole into things. I do it all the time.
Oh, of course. Of course. Then you know what you do? You go get an old maker book, and they've got 150. You could build your own guitar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and knock yourself
super
out.
satisfying to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, usually the best move when I see myself doing something like that is to like get up from the computer and like go for a little walk, and then I'm like, oh, and I can flush those brain cells. I get to think about things. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need to do that.
No, you don't. And
I don't need to write my own language. I don't need to write my own 3D modeler. I don't need to write my
that's right. Yeah, Mark and I have been friends long enough. And again, thinking back to just how long makes you go, oh my God, how much time has passed. But I've got at least like 20 half-built things like at home
at any point in time.
right. Or
Yeah.
what I'll do is I get done. Like, do you remember the old Coleco tabletop games from the 1980s? Right. They used the vacuum compact fluorescent screens on them and all this other stuff. Adams Savages tested. They had basically gotten one of them and then modeled it, and they released the STLs for it. And so you could 3D print one. So I 3D printed one at home, and it has a Raspberry Pi in it. It's got batteries in it and all this other stuff. And I went, oh, that's great. Just put it right up on the shelf, and thing's never been fired up again. So there is a certain level of joy in doing that. But
there's like a jigsaw puzzle element of some things, and I'm like saying don't innovate, but at the same time sometimes it's just fun to like make a jigsaw puzzle. And you like get done with the jigsaw puzzle and you're like, okay, now what?
Absolutely.
It's fine.
Well, listen, since you mentioned it before, and I am a good corporate citizen here, another announcement that happened during Gamescom was Amazon's widening bet on games. We are not hell-bent on just being MMOs. EMEA Publishing Director John Rosenblatt on King of Meat reveal and how the success of New World and Lost Ark ignited developer interest in Amazon.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, our strategy has always been to develop and publish games of the highest quality. EMEA Publishing Director John Rosenblatt tells GameIndustry.biz, we're not hell-bent on it just being MMOs. You'll see with the recent announcement of Maverick and obviously Crystal Dynamics for Tomb Raider, plus the MOBA being made by our Montreal studio. We're actually really diversifying our portfolio, and pretty rapidly we want to continue doing that. It's important for us to continue to build amazing games, but also make sure the games are diverse in their look and feel. King of Meat was just an ideal opportunity for us to work with a very talented team in Guildford and really grow that game out into something much bigger than they may have planned. So, look, Amazon is in this for the long haul, right? And they keep leaning into large properties, but also unique and diverse titles that we can help, studios and developers bring to the world. And I think that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So yeah, whether it's through Prime Gaming, Prime Video, and the opportunity for some kind of transmedia, through working with AWS or Amazon Music, I think a lot of developers are now looking at us and saying, well, okay, we know that you can make and publish great games. Your marketing, your backend, all your teams work an extremely high bar. We want to build an IP. Amazon can actually do so much more than so many others. And so that's one of the reasons why I think we're so compelling for developers out there. So good on the team for getting out there and doing the announcement and pushing this out.
I'm trying to imagine what kind of game King of Meat is.
We should probably talk about that on another episode because we're at 1:22 right now. And the East Coast, man, that 2 hours really ripped by. At least it did for me. Maybe not for everybody that's holding on and listening. But
hopefully they're getting work done while we're all talking.
Yeah, and that's the best way to go ahead and do this. And that way, if you hear something pop up, you go, ooh, they're wrong. We should go and yell at them about that. So there is one little sad piece of news, but not entirely unexpected. that popped up, which has to do with Animal Crossing. The Pocket version of the game is being shut down by Nintendo. And Nintendo to close down free-to-play mobile Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. A premium edition, however, is on the way. Nintendo's confirms retiring its free-to-play mobile Animal Crossing game, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
So that's the mobile game, isn't it?
That's the mobile one,
game,
yeah.
Animal Crossing. So
Which
they're shutting down the...
They're shutting down the mobile one, and then they are going to be replacing it with a paid version.
Okie dokie.
I don't know what that means.
That's interesting.
I don't know what the difference is going to be between them, you know?
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. When I got into the last version, the last Animal Crossing on Switch.
So good.
Which I played way too much of during the pandemic.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of crossover with Pocket Camp. So I went over and played Pocket Camp so I could get, some goodies inside of the Switch version. I thought it was pretty nice. I didn't play a ton of it. That probably puts a date on it, and it probably is like a 5-6 year old game, Pocket Camp. So the fact that they're gonna sunset it and that they're gonna create a new one that is good news. But I'm sad to hear that they're gonna sunset it first and then release the paid one later. I wish it.
Yeah, and it says players keen to maintain their progress will have their saves transferred over. Although the premium in-game currency Leaf tickets will not be available when the premium version launches, so players are advised to spend them ahead of the closure in November. Subscribed players will continue to be charged until October 28th, after which even auto renewals will be canceled. Nintendo similarly pulled the brakes on Mario Kart Tour at the end of last year, which I didn't even realize they did that. Shows you how much I played it,
Yeah, I played it a bunch and then I stopped. That's interesting that the saves are going to be transferred over. So that implies that it's going to be heavily similar. So that's interesting here.
And another moment in game industry history for myself, one of the very first meetings I had when I started doing the game stuff at Sun was with Nintendo at E3 to go, hey, we've got these Java phones. And did you know that there's a Sonic game that was made, sponsored by Nextel, that's coming out there? And they said, that seems very interesting. We are not a phone game company. We have our own platforms. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Just always very, very polite, but no, kid, go. We're not doing that on a black and white Java phone.
Yeah, I hear that.
I don't even think that was. I don't even think that was the wrong move for them. So, well, I know. Again, we're up to the last few minutes here. Tell us what you're playing. You said you just started.
So I've been playing Feed the Deep. Yeah, that's what I've been playing is Feed the Deep. So I have a habit of in the middle of the day playing something for a half an hour or so. And it had been Animal Well for a while, and now it's Feed the Deep, and that'll stick for a while. How about you? What are you playing?
Well, not playing a whole heck of a lot, actually. But I shouldn't say that. I'm still going through and playing. We're watching we're finishing the Umbrella Academy at home, so I've been playing a lot of Power Wash Simulator while we're just sitting there.
Power Wash Simulator,
which I do love.
I gotta pull that down.
So, and it's multiplayer. So
what?
yes.
That breaks my brain. All right. All right. Well, we should get in and play together.
Hell yes. So doing that. But on today's episode of Rewind.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let me show you what I'm doing today. Oh.
I saw what you were doing.
Oh, look at this fat old iPad. Look at the size of the bezel on that, if you can see.
It looks almost exactly the same as every iPad.
No, this is kind of the. Well, yeah.
Flat piece of glass.
Flat piece of glass. Except this other iPad. It happens to also have a Space Invader on the back. But the thing about these two iPads is that these are the 32-bit OS versions. And there are a ton of amazing games that were never ported to the 64-bit operating system, which means you cannot play them anymore. Yeah. So I'm going to go back and play through crack open a whole bunch of games that are lost to time, lost to, basically not being able to be developed or ported onto new operating system. One of the biggest ones for me, I love Endless Runner games. Yeah, Karen Clark was saying Dungeon Raid. Yes, for sure. One of the there are 2 games on here that I absolutely love. I love Endless Runners, right? I'm almost super easy. Cannonball, like the first one was super awesome, right? Was called it was Pitfall. There was a Pitfall Endless Runner that would change its point of view. So it starts as a side scroller, then turns into a behind Pitfall Harry. And then you jump into a mine cart and you're careening down a mine shaft and you have to flip switches and move. It is incredible and never got ported over to new OS. That one is a big one. And then, of course, if you remember Doodle Jump back in the day, super easy to play. There was one done by Bandai Namco, which was called Pack and Jump, and it was all of the graphics in it were you could see all the pixels in them. You know, they were kind of actually had like lines between them, so that all the pixels were segmented. And so it's a Pac-Man themed one, but you get to a certain height, then it unloads the Dig Dug level, then the Galaga level, then so it's all those old classic ones.
Cow.
So I'm gonna go play through a whole bunch of them today, and not play through them again, crack them open to experience them.
How are you? I was really curious how you were doing that. Is it just that you've got them all on the devices now?
Yeah. Because one of the things it lets you do, right, is go back and download purchases made in the past. So I had some of them already on the device, and the ones I was missing, I just went ahead and downloaded them. And then I use an application called I think it's X-Migrate or something like that, which lets me mirror the iPad to a PC.
Perfect.
And then I just go ahead and capture it into OBS. And so we get to go and play X-Mirage. That's what it's called.
X-Mirage.
Yeah. So we're going to play through some old iPad games. But
very cool.
Man, I can't, that 2 hours really did rip by.
I know.
It was awesome.
Tea?
Oh yeah, well no, I knew we were going in, so I had 2 cups here.
Oh nice, yeah. I had the official giant GDC advisory board thermos filled with green tea, which is now.
Oh, you know, he just has to bring that up all the time. Oh, I'm on the advisory board for the greatest developer conference in the world because I'm Mark DeLoura and I'm the best. Actually, you are the best, man. You are the best. They are lucky to have you. And we're lucky to have you and be able to do this every Friday. So, yeah, my friend, this was a lot of fun. Thank you to everybody that listened. Make sure you go ahead and tell people that you know about this. Keep joining, keep reposting it back up there so we can, continue to have these conversations.
Tell us about the news that you've heard of that you're interested in and the games that you're playing.
Yeah.
That's how we learn.
Yeah, 100%. And I should mention that we have threatened to have on guests. And so we're lining up a couple of them now. So in the month of September, of course, we're going to have episodes all the time. In October, I'm going to be traveling extensively for a few weeks. So we'll go and figure out if the rest of the crew can do an audio version of this, since I won't be in the studio, since I'll on this kind of global tour for a little bit. But we have a lot more to come, and it's just so much fun to sit down and cover news and interesting stories and have those discussions with you as well. Oren said, hey, he would love to be a guest as well. Oren, we are working on a way for us to invite people in to be able to join instantaneously. So we're working on that as well. And guests, we don't want to go ahead and share them yet, just in case, something falls through. But suffice to say, we have some good ones lined up, some really good ones. So I'm super excited about that. But that's it. That wraps up this edition of Boss Rush. Thank you, Mark, for spending time with me today.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And we'll talk to you next week on Boss Rush. Thanks, gang.
Play some games.
Yeah, go play some games, damn it. Everybody get out there and do that. Please, please, please. All right. You all have a great rest of your day. All right, see you.